I'm from Adastra Cymru, and we've been the media partner in Rainova, responsible for the website, the observatory, and several other products. And this morning I'm going to talk to you about the Regional Innovation Observatory, which we designed and built, working very closely with our other partners. I'm going to start by asking a few questions which I expect will already be in your minds. For example, what is the observatory for? What are its targets? Is there really a need for another innovation observatory? And if so, what is different about our observatory from existing observatories? The first thing to say about the observatory is that it is not aimed at a global audience. Where it belongs, where it fits, is at a regional level. It is also a European initiative which targets European regions, so of course it also belongs at a European level, but mainly its role, on a region-by-region basis, is to serve three target audiences with a common interest in innovation. And these audiences are small companies who are key actors in regional innovation, regional vet training providers who supply the SMEs with skills training and research and development support, and regional governments and agencies who set the agenda for innovation in the regions and also provide strategic support frameworks for innovating organizations. The Rainova Regional Innovation Observatory offers a specialized service for these three closely linked communities in local regions. Research by the Rainova partners found that the European regions were not very well served by existing observatories, which typically had much wider remits. In various individual countries, some innovation observatories with a regional focus have been established, but what sets, I think, the Rainova Observatory apart from these is that it is a European initiative. The goal of our observatory is to serve regions anywhere and everywhere in Europe and help bring them together into a community of innovating regions. Next, I want to comment on the approach of the Rainova Observatory. What philosophy informed the design and architecture of the observatory? For me, the answer to this is a single, very European word: devolution. Why have I chosen that word? Because actually, the Rainova Innovation Observatory is not a thing, but an idea. There is really no such thing as the Rainova Regional Innovation Observatory except in an abstract sense. Instead, what we have is many, many individual observatories, one for each economic region, all gathered together into one single place. Each observatory is self-contained, self-sufficient, and self-managing. They all share the same design with local variations, the same structure, and the same editorial approach. Of course, because these observatories form a community of innovating regions, they share some content. For example, regions from the same country tend to share some of the same articles. All the observatories share a common page of European-wide news and information, and all their registered users are given access to a secure external platform through which to communicate and collaborate as members of a European community of regional innovators or those with a stake in innovation. In a few moments, we will start to look at the observatory itself as a prototype, a proof of concept, a demonstration that the idea works, that it is practical, and that it is expandable. This last point, that the observatory should be easily expandable, was a particularly important part of our brief for designing and developing it. The maths are quite exciting. There are more than 40 European countries. Multiply that by the number of economic regions in any country from the size of, let's say, Luxembourg upwards, and we're potentially talking about what, 100, 200 regions, more than 200? I don't know, but I'd be fascinated to know the answer. My point is that I'm quite sure that every one of those regions will see itself, at least to some extent, as being a stakeholder in innovation. Every region will have its SMEs, vet organizations, and ambitious regional governments and agencies. So in principle, every region should have a very good reason to be represented in the Rainova Regional Innovation Observatory. Technically speaking, such a potentially high level of expandability is perfectly possible because the observatory is built on the Joomla content management system. The whole point of content management systems is that they're highly scalable, which means not only expandable, but also, if necessary, reducible. Of course, there would be serious challenges ahead, how to manage a system involving 50 or 100 or more, whatever the number of regional observatories, and how to police it to make sure that every member region is acting in the common interests of all. Imagine, for example, what might be occurring today if the observatory included one of those rebel regions from eastern Ukraine. Maybe that would be an interesting challenge just now. And there would also be technical and financial challenges, a lot of hosting capacity and bandwidth to organize and pay for, the need for continuous technical development, and how all that would be financed and organized, and so on. But I think that all these issues can be solved if there is enough energy and determination. The prototype observatory we will now look at represents at this moment in time a community of 11 regions that have been involved in the Rainova project. As you can see, most of them from European countries, one from what we call an accession country, Turkey, also demonstrating that this European initiative might also have a global application. Regions from 2 third-party countries also represented in the Rainova from China and Canada have been involved. The first thing you will observe about the observatory is that it is part of the Rainova website. It is not a separate system. The website is completely public and open as a source of news and information about Rainova. But the observatory is a membership-only resource. To access its content, you first have to join as a member. Anyway, whether you're a member or not, the simplest way to reach the observatory is through the website. To get onto the observatory, you click anywhere on the observatory panel near the top of the website homepage. This uses a design theme based on national flags, or in the case of the Basque Country, Wales, and Quebec, regional flags. Now, if you're thinking flags are okay for just a few regions, but they would never work for much larger numbers, you're quite right, and I'll return to this topic later on. You have to remember that this prototype was developed on quite a small budget and tight schedule, and flags were a quick, good-looking, easily understood situation. After you click on the observatory panel, you're taken to the login. If you're not already a member, you'll have to choose the option to create a new account. Self-registration, of course, offers an opportunity to build a database of members, which could be very useful when developing an international community concerned with managing innovation. Once you've logged in, you reach the top-level navigation page. From here, you choose which region you want to visit. I said earlier on that the Regional Innovation Observatory was really an idea more than a thing. In a way, this page comes nearest to the Regional Innovation Observatory being an actual thing. What you're looking at here is all the regional observatories all together in one place, and it's that combination of all of them that makes up the full Regional Innovation Observatory. Now I'm going to show you how the observatory is organized into topics. For the next few examples, we will look at the observatory for the region of southern Denmark. Very early on, our design team recommended to our partners that we should limit the number of top-level categories, or topics, to 8. This felt like an optimum number. Putting it very simply, 8 topics seems like quite a lot, but also not too many. We deliberately didn't want the observatory to ever run the risk of being overcomplicated and difficult to navigate. But of course, everything doesn't have to be reached only from the top level. Subdivision is always possible. But that is where simplicity stops and complication can start. From a design and navigation perspective, you need to take great care once you start to add subdivided content. Our decision was to allow just one level of subtopics for some categories of content, and in fact, in the prototype, there are only 2 sets of subtopics. Taking the top-level topics in order, we start with regional news, which breaks down into 4 subtopics concerning regional policy news and news about SMEs, clusters, and education and training. The second topic, European news, is a shared topic common to every regional observatory, so every article published on this page is available to all observatory members. The third and fourth topics, case studies and innovation systems, are both single topic pages, The case studies page reports on interesting examples of good practice in innovation, and the other page reports on support systems for innovation provided by government and other regional agencies. The fifth topic, support, is another that is broken down into subtopics, two in this case, technical and financial support, which I guess will be self-explanatory. Possibly the sixth topic, organizations, is not very well named. A colleague from CSCS, our partner in Tuscany, explaining why she found the title organizations not very clear, said she thought it might have been better to use the title stakeholders. I told her I saw what she meant, but there wasn't time to change the prototype. But it doesn't mean that this topic title, or indeed any of the other titles, can't be reviewed and changed in the future. The seventh topic, events, is the last of the content topics in the actual observatory itself. It's a single topic page which publishes news about future events concerning innovation in the region, such as conferences, training programs, or award ceremonies. If you choose networking, the eighth and last topic, you're taken out of the observatory to the welcome page for Rainova's online virtual community platform. It was not our responsibility to organize this page for new external observatory members. There is no sign yet on the welcome page that visits are expected from anyone apart from regular existing Rainova project members. It seems to me there is still some work to be done here to explain what the platform can offer to external members, how to register on the platform, and so on. So that is how the observatory is organized, and this is what a complete top-level page looks like. As you will observe, the same design is used for all, but colors and styling vary between regions. Another feature I'd like to show you are the explanations of what each topic is about, which appear when you move your mouse cursor over the topic. This screen shows all 8 of them, although in reality they only appear one at a time. As I've already suggested, none of this is set in concrete. Change is certainly possible, but my advice would be to start with the assumption that the prototype is at least 80% correct, because I think it does work well, not perfectly, but well. And history teaches us that it is usually unwise and expensive to build a working prototype and then tear it up and start all over again. Now we will look at some examples of actual content in the observatory. And where better to start than by announcing the award for regional observatory with the most content, which goes to, now I want you to imagine dramatic music and lots of silence, Tuscany, Toscana. This is the list of articles on their News About SMEs page. It's very good stuff indeed. Next, I'll show you an example in English to demonstrate how articles are presented. The top page for each topic or subtopic acts as an index of the articles offered for the topic. Here in the Wales Observatory, there are 3 articles for the technical support page. Each article is presented as a headline with either a short summary of the article or the first paragraph from the article. If you click on the article headline, we're taken to the full article. This is an example of quite a short article containing 2 links to external resources. This link has taken us to information from an important agency called Expertise Wales. External links may take the reader to a policy or an academic paper, which may be on a website like this one or in PDF format. Clearly, there is nothing revolutionary about such a completely conventional approach to presenting information about innovation. What is new and different about this observatory is not the publishing method, but the context, the approach, the policy framework. So there is a limit to what I can show you, even though this is meant to be a presentation of the observatory. Even so, there are 2 more points I want to explain. The first point is that because of the localized regional nature of this initiative, it logically follows that authors and editors are free to write and publish in any language they choose. And so most of the existing regional observatories have published a mix of articles, both in their national language and in English. There are articles in Spanish, Danish, Swedish, Turkish, Polish, Italian, and Romanian. The second point is that, as I said earlier, there is also content that is shared with other regions. At a national level, this is demonstrated by articles shared by the 2 Swedish observatories in Dalarna and Västra Götaland. In this case, what I'm showing is how this is managed in the back-end content management system. Simply by selecting two categories, Dalarna and Västra Götaland Policy News, the article is simultaneously published in two separate observatories. Also, any article that an author or editor thinks might be of interest or significance to colleagues in other regions is added to the European news page and then becomes available to every single observatory. Here I am choosing one of three very interesting and original articles from Samuel. So that is the Rainova Regional Innovation Observatory in its current prototype form. I guess I'm one of the proud parents. We all think our children are unique and wonderful. Well, maybe, but even so, I think that in this observatory we have achieved something substantial, something that is not only truly local in its expression, but also completely European in its spirit and its ambition. I also like the way it has a global twist. It is open, inclusive, and outward-looking. For me, and I hope too for the European Commission, it is a demonstration of money that has been well and wisely spent. In the final part of this presentation, I would like to look forward to the future and consider some of the most important issues I think will need to be addressed if, or perhaps I should say when, the observatory is taken over by the International Innovation Network. For me, there are 6 essential questions that need discussion. Top-level navigation at the front end. How will we navigate around dozens or maybe one day hundreds of regions? Data entry at the back end. Self-managing, self-publishing regions sound ideal, but will this approach bring us new problems? Continuing development by adding new features. Should we encourage the future managers of the observatory to be creative? Technical support. What must we do to keep the observatory healthy and working? Editorial control and support. How can we maintain both quality and high standards? And finally, responsibility and financing. Who will take charge and how will the system be funded? Earlier I said I agreed with anyone who thought our top-level navigation system based on national and regional flags could not have a long-term future. It does the job well enough for this 11-region prototype, but it won't be much good if many more regions are added to the observatory. I'm quite certain a redesign will be needed, and a budget for that will be needed too. Whoever takes on that job will have their own ideas, but if we were doing it, our approach would be to create an interactive map of Europe. Countries would have different background shades to make them easy to locate. Each country's regional observatories that are already active on the system would be marked in differently coloured bullets located in the centre of each region. In this case, no doubt demonstrating extreme ignorance of the country, so I'm very glad there's no one from Romania here. I've imagined a time when one country, Romania, has 3 member observatories which are very, very, very approximately marked by yellow bullets. When you put your mouse cursor on the country, an alphabetical drop-down menu appears, which would list the names of the country's live regional observatories. If you clicked once on one of the names, its bullet would change colour on the map. If you double-clicked on the name, the observatory would be opened and you would be in. Due to lack of time, I only sketched this idea extremely crudely on the slide, but done professionally on the web, it would be smooth and slick. The great thing is that an interactive feature like this could go on and on being expanded without the need to make any fundamental changes to how it is set up. It could also be automated, so that as each new regional observatory came on stream, it would automatically be added as a bullet on the map, with its name added in the correct alphabetical position on the drop-down menu. This would all be handled by information entered into the back-end database. For the bullet on the map to be correctly located, the administrator would probably have to enter the latitude and longitude of the capital city or administrative centre of the region. All this sort of detail is a very interesting challenge indeed. Moving on to the back end, we have to consider 2 questions. First, if in the future each regional observatory is meant to be self-managing and self-publishing, how should we give them access to the system so that they can add new articles and information? Do we expect each region to appoint a Joomla expert as their editorial administrator? Probably not, because opening up your content management system to anyone who claims to be an expert may be inviting disaster into your house and offering it the keys to every room. The second question is about editorial standards. We live in a world where anyone can write and publish content and be their own editor. We are all familiar with the arguments about why, on the one hand, this is a very good thing for intellectual freedom and information flow, while on the other hand it raises some difficult questions about quality control and standards. These arguments are particularly sharp when it comes to professionally significant publishing, academia, vet, science, the arts, business, and so on. I would argue that an innovation observatory which aspires to be a leading information resource should be classified in the group of professionally significant publishing enterprises. If so, it follows that quality control and standards are going to be important at all levels and on every page of every regional observatory. If so, how can we make this come about? Probably the answer to the first question is to close off the content management system and develop a system for entering content for new articles through a data entry form. Each field in the form would be automatically mapped to the equivalent field in Joomla. As you can see, we did quite a bit of work on this idea, but gave it up because we were worried about spending too much of our time and budget on building a data entry system instead of building an actual observatory. But we did enough work to realize there would be three clear advantages to this approach. First, filling in a form is much easier than working directly in Joomla. Second, it's more democratic because more people can add articles, not only content management system experts. And third, correct formatting of every element of the article is guaranteed because it is automated, whereas humans make mistakes or break the rules. Probably one part of the answer to the second question concerning quality and standards is to find a way to involve professional editors for each language represented in the whole observatory. I'll come back to that idea in a minute. A second part of the answer is once again a form-based data entry system which guarantees at least the correct formatting of articles. Perhaps also an automatic grammar and spell check, which runs before you're allowed to save the article, would encourage authors to take a bit more care about grammar and typing. The third topic for the future is the continuing development of the observatory. What we have at present is a prototype, a beginning. It's surely bound to develop, for example, adding blog and conferencing support, or perhaps some interactive training features. Or perhaps these would be better supported on the external networking platform, in which case the relationship between the observatory and the networking platform should be explored in much greater depth. The fourth topic is technical support. It will always be essential to have someone who understands the whole system, who will fight fires, fix problems, and support new developments. I must say that if anyone thinks the observatory can look after itself for all eternity, they're making a big mistake. Every ship must have a captain, and the observatory is going to be a very big ship. The fifth topic is editorial control and support. I already mentioned some of the reasons why this will probably be as important in its own way as technical support. The difference may be that technical support will definitely need some budget, whereas it is possible to find voluntary solutions to bring in professional people with editorial skills, as the Wikipedia project has demonstrated successfully. My own preferred approach would be to build up a transnational community of editors covering all the observatory languages, with all of them communicating with each other in the common language of English. I would even suggest this self-help community of editors should adopt the slogan of Alexandre Dumas' Three Musketeers, all for one and one for all. The knowledge of what was occurring in the ever-growing observatory would not then be in the head of one person, but in the heads of many collaborating people. If you are a Star Trek fan, you would call that the Borg solution. The final issue is fundamental to the future of the observatory: responsibility. Who ultimately will be responsible for it? Which organisation or group of organisations will decide to make the observatory a key resource in their continuing strategy? Should one organisation commit to taking on long-term executive responsibility? And of course, with responsibility comes the need to organise sufficient funding to sustain the observatory year on year. I do not think the annual budget needs to be large, but some rolling budget will surely be required for technical support and to fund continuing developments of the system, particularly at the beginning when the system moves from the prototype phase to the rollout and expansion phase. So, I hope I've given everyone plenty of food for thought. And by the way, on the screen is my favourite quote about responsibility. I have a feeling it was written by a woman about a man. I would like to finish by saying that working on the observatory has been one of the most interesting and exciting and challenging projects I've ever faced as an editor and media producer. I have to confess that when it was first suggested to me, I had some doubts about whether such an observatory was necessary or would even work. Now, I'm absolutely convinced that the Rainova Regional Innovation Observatory is a truly significant development. If it is put into the right hands, I believe it could change the entire game everywhere in Europe when it comes to sharing information about innovation and building much greater consciousness of innovation in the regions and across the whole continent. On the whole, it has been a pleasure to work on the Rainova Observatory, and I will always be deeply grateful for the experience. Thank you.